Hey, my name is Sean. Welcome to Echoes in Eternity Bourbon, and happy Halloween. Have you ever had something you just couldn't explain? Well, I think I'm gonna need a pour for this one. So this is Still Austin Red Corn Bourbon, bottled in bond, and this was from an awesome member of the channel, awesome member of a lot of channels, Dave Vogelsang, and so he does an amazing job of getting some things to a lot of different people because he is an amazing bourbon hunter. And he happened to get this for me because I had been searching for some Texas bourbons. I'm like, I don't want to give up on Texas. It's a amazing state. A lot of great history about Texas. It's one of the actual few states that could actually still secede from the United States or become four states in itself if they decided to ever split it up that way. A lot of interesting history behind it. But this story that I'm about to tell you is based out of Texas. So let me get a nose on this, see what we got. I'm going for the full 2 ounces today. Wow. So get some nice oak, some nice corn on the nose. Bit of vanilla in there. It's got a little bit of a different funk to it, which I kind of really like. Let me get a sip, see what we got. Wow. So for me, first thing off the bat is this doesn't drink like a 100 proofer. It just has a very nice mouthfeel. It's very smooth. You get the nice light caramel. You get some of the vanilla. I'm getting a little bit of a rye spice to it on the back there. So just a little bit of pepper, just a tiny bit of rye. It's got a nice little funk to it, though. I'm really kind of enjoying this pour, but let me kind of set up the story a little bit. So, for those that know, I was born and raised in Vegas. Um, you know, moved around quite a bit in Vegas, but kind of at the beginning of I'd say about halfway through my freshman year, moved into a place in North Vegas. My mom and dad got a house there, and I met a great friend. And we're still friends to this day. His name's Dale. We used to call him Opie. Great guy. And so, our friendship, like I said, it continued through the years. He stayed in Vegas. I moved to the South. Still kept in contact. Eventually, he ended up in Texas. It's got a little bit of a buttery quality to this that I like too. But he ended up in Texas. I met a wonderful woman there. Got married, and they were having, still have a very happy life together there. So I'm very happy for that because they're both great people. But we hadn't seen each other for years, and so Dale says, "Hey, we go on this fishing trip periodically down to Sargent, Texas." And those that aren't familiar with Texas, and I can't say I'm the most familiar person with Texas. It's south of Houston, about an hour or so south of Houston, right on the Gulf of Mexico. And I've been raised in the desert all my life, at least the first 20 plus years of my life. So I love desert beauty and the scenery, and spent a lot of time after that on the Gulf of Mexico and Florida a lot of times, just hanging out with family, vacationing and stuff like that. And growing up in that area in Nevada, I also used to camp in Utah and stuff when I was a scout. Yes, I was a Boy Scout. Be prepared. Um, but you get some of the most incredible scenery of the night sky. You'd get to see, because when we go into Utah and go camping, there's no lighting around, and so you get to see all the beautiful constellations, all the stars in the sky. And so, Father's Day weekend, 2017, we decided, hey, I'm gonna go to Sargent, Texas, and we're gonna hang out for the weekend. Do camp out and bring in my tent and stuff, and we're just gonna fish and have a good time. I still can't believe that this is 100 proofer. I mean, it's literally drinking. I've had a lot harsher 80 proof bourbons, and it's got this interesting little taste on the back. Maybe that's the red corn. I don't know. But let me digress. Let me get back to the story. So, pack up. It's Father's Day weekend. Drive down there. It's a 12, 13-hour drive from where I'm at. But I'm like, look, I'm game. Let's have some fun. So I get there, and it's nighttime, and Dale is there with his wife, and he's got some more people coming in the next day. And it's probably the most beautiful scene I've ever seen in my life, because you're literally riding through the desert. And like I said, I like desert scenery. I think it's fantastic, but it's still at night. But I'd seen some of it earlier in the day. But it's desert scenery as you're pulling up, and it's like you're running through the desert, then all of a sudden you're at the ocean. And on top of that, there's absolutely no lights out there. So you get, I mean, ocean with desert surrounding you, and just the most incredibly beautiful night sky. Stars everywhere. It's almost like the stars are falling into the ocean. It's so clear, it's so beautiful. So the first night, we just sit out there, and I have a pour, and I mean, just put my chair right in the water, and we're just talking. Dale and I are just catching up and having a good time. And it's late, so I eventually get my tent set up and stuff, and I get some rest. We get up the next day, and a couple of their friends show up that were coming to it as well, and we're having a real nice time. And the one thing I tell you, I absolutely, some people, depending on where they're at, but at least with Dale and his friends, they have this the thing, and the thing is that, in Texas, they're big Second Amendment people, and I have guns in my house and stuff too, but they have it. I think Texans are maybe a little bit different. At least maybe some of his friends are. When someone comes into camp, they let everyone know, here's where the weapons are at. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. It doesn't hurt or bother me in any way. And of course, I'll leave the Second Amendment stuff alone. There's a lot of horrible things that people do, but I also believe that you should have the right to bear arms. But we'll just leave that alone. So we spend the whole day fishing. We don't catch a whole lot. The waves and the currents and the tides just were really good that day. But we had a great time together. We had some nice brisket. We hung out. We talked. Had a few pours, and things were well. And I'll tell you right now, I'm a skeptic by nature on a lot of things, and it's probably part of how I'm built and designed. Everyone's a little bit different. I really, really like to know the nuts and bolts of things. And it really bothers me when I can't figure things out. Past history and the work for the company I'm with, I was an engineer for them, an application engineer. I moved into a different role with the company now. But to me, things have to make sense. It has to be, you have this to this to this to this to this. And when things don't add up, it kind of puts me into a tailspin. So after having a great day of hanging out with friends, and meeting new people that are friends, and talking about everything under the sun, and just having a good time, and enjoying a lot of other people there that were hanging out fishing at the beach and stuff, settled in for the night, and just hearing the waves crashing on the beach. You're probably, from my tent, probably 60 yards from the beach. And if you were to go diagonal about 100 yards from where I'm at, there's a restroom. And so you know, 2:33 in the morning, nature calls. You know, I'm in my tent. Dale and his wife are in theirs, and then the other couple are in theirs. And I get up and I think, okay, no big thing. I'm gonna head to the restroom. That's a natural thing. Getting a little bit of a nice herbal quality on this that I like, and almost a little bit of a brown sugar note too. So really, really getting into this. Very good bourbon. So I head to the restroom. Nature calling. I get in the stall and I'm sitting there, and probably more than you guys needed to know there, but around the restroom there's like a crush and run gravel. So you as you start walking up on it, you kind of get as you're getting onto the concrete slab and where the restroom is at. And so as I'm sitting there at 3 a.m. doing my thing, I start hearing something coming on the crush and run. I'm like, okay, well, somebody else got to use the bathroom. I mean, it happens, whatever. And so then I hear, just a very distinct as you get to the concrete. So you get the heel toe, heel toe. So it's someone with some boots on. It's very distinct. If you've ever worn boots, I've worn boots a lot of my life. You get that heel toe, heel toe, heel toe type of thing going on. And so I'm like, okay, no big deal. So I'm sitting there, and the heel toe, heel toe, heel toe, heel toe comes right in front of my stall. And I'm like, okay, it's not setting off anything at that moment. It's like, okay, someone's got to use the bathroom. They walk in, they come to a stall. But, I'm initially thinking they're going to maybe try to push on the stall, or, something like that. The stall's locked. They'll realize, oh, there's somebody in that stall. I've got to come back later or wait it out or whatever. But nothing happens. And I know that the heel toe, heel toe, heel toe stopped dead in front of my stall. And there's nothing going on. There's no one knocking on the door. There's no one trying the door. And I'm thinking, well, maybe this person just realizes, but it's pitch black inside. And I'm telling you, pitch black. There's no lights inside. I had to use a little thing from my phone, flashlight from my phone to get into there. But there was no flashlight. And I'm like, okay. So I didn't see a flashlight coming in. All I heard is the boots coming to the outside of the stall. And I'm like, this is kind of strange, but maybe this person's just got really good vision. But instead of just stepping away, and it sounded like they were right in front of the door, instead of stepping away or back, they just kind of stood there. And so this is kind of getting the hackles on my back of my neck standing up a little bit. Something's just not right here. This is just a super, super smooth bourbon. Dave, thank you very much for this. So my hackles are up on the back of my neck, and I'm wondering, what is going on here? It's almost like it's almost an invasion of privacy at this point. Instead of like someone telling, oh, sorry, and stepping back, it's like someone standing right in front of that stall, and they're not moving and they're not saying a thing. And it's just all these different red lights are going off. This is not adding up. This is not making sense. So I say, hey, I'm in here, just to verbally put out there that somebody's in this stall. Maybe it'll cue them in that, hey, you need to step back. Nothing. Crickets, nothing. And I'm like, okay. So at this point now, I'm thinking something's really, really off. And, I wasn't even thinking at the time, maybe there's someone that's got some hearing issues. Maybe there's someone that just doesn't communicate well. I don't know. But at this point now, your fight or flight kind of gets up. And I'm like, there ain't no flight. I'm in a stall in a small room. So it's kind of fight time right now. So, I'm finishing up my business, and I'm like, okay, we're going. It's go time. So I'm saying to myself, what am I going to do here? And the first thing I think is, when I open this door, I'm going to hit it with all the force that I got, and I'm going to knock this person back, because I don't know what they're planning right now. This has put me into. I've got to. I'm going to be in a struggle right now, and I'm going to be in a fight for something. And if I'm going to be in a fight for something, I'm going to hit something with everything I got first. So I literally, I popped that latch, and and not a small guy. I mean, at the time I was probably about 270, and I put on a few more pounds since then. And I hit that door with everything I've got once I pop that latch. And I fly out of that stall, and there's no one there. And at this moment, I'm reeling. My mind is going nuts. I'm like, I know there's someone right there. I heard them come in. I know there's someone right there. So I immediately, so as if on cue, Richard shut off the camera. I swear. So let me get back to where I was. I slammed through, the stall. I was expecting to knock someone back. I expected there was going to be a tussle. No one's there. So my mind's reeling at this moment. They've got to be hiding in here somewhere. So I turn around to the right, go around the stall. There's no one there. And at this point, I'm really just kind of going, what is going on? My mind's in overdrive. My adrenaline's pumping at this moment. And so I cautiously kind of go out, look around the stall, get out, out of the stall, out of the restroom, and there's no one there. I walk the whole building around. There's no one there. And I'm like freaking out a little bit. So I'm like, man, am I losing my mind? What's going on here? So I walk back to the camp, and I'm thinking so hard about replaying everything that happened. It just doesn't make sense. I step into a, a pile of fire ants, and my left foot just goes on fire. I probably got stung 20 or 30 times on my left foot. So I'm like out there, and I'm like freaking. Now I'm seething mad because I've just got tore up by a bunch of ants. I can't figure out what's going on. Get them all wiped off and just mumble a few things, and I go back into my tent and I lay down. And for the next 2.5 hours, I lay there, and I'm kind of listening for someone maybe approaching the camp. And I'm also trying to figure out, did I hear everything that I just heard? And this is locked into my mind. I mean, I still to this day get adrenaline when I talk about this or think about this, about someone was right outside that door, and there was no kind of communication going on, and it was kind of violating that personal space type of thing. And I sit back, and I was sitting there, and I was thinking about this for a couple hours, and I just couldn't get it out of my head. I just couldn't get it out of my head. So I'm thinking, I don't know what happened. I know what I heard. I heard the crush and run. I heard the person coming up on it. I heard him hit the concrete. I heard him get right in front of my stall. I communicated out. They never communicated back. I busted through that stall. No one was there. So I'm realizing at this point, I'm not going to sleep anymore. I'm not, once my mind, and I'm sure most of you have the same thing, is that when I wake up, if I start thinking about something, if I actively start thinking about something, I'm not going to go to sleep, because I have to problem solve it. I have to understand it. So it's been, 6.5 years now, and I still can't figure it out. And it bothers me. It's like, what happened there? So, I get up. I tell Opie. I said, "Hey, man, I'm gonna take off." I had planned to already leave that morning about 7 or 8. He knew that, but I'm leaving a little bit early just because I can't sleep. I might as well hit the road. Never told him what happened in the restroom area, but I just was like, "Hey, I'm gonna hit the road. You have a great time. I love you, brother. I'm gone." And so as I've reflected back on this now, for years, I said, I know every ounce of me knows that something was there, but I couldn't see it. And the only thing that I think of is the only area that I did not look, and I know it was, but it was a small area. It wasn't a big area. It was probably half the size of my living room for the restroom. And the only thing I didn't do is I didn't look up. I'm thinking there was no way nothing's going to be up there, but I didn't look up. But I know something was there. So that is kind of my strange story for Halloween. I know it took me a long time to get to it. Richard the Ghost cut in once. But have you ever had an experience? And like I said, I'm a skeptic by nature. There's always a reason why things happen. I can't explain that. Have you ever had something just weird happen to you that you just couldn't explain and it just bothers you? This is still a problem that I still try to solve years later that don't have an answer to. And I've even searched stuff for Sergeant Texas, any unexplained things going on in Sergeant Texas. And maybe I missed them, but I can't find anything. So I don't know if I was just had too much good brisket or a beverage or two, and I imagined things, but I know in the core and the soul and the heart of me, I didn't imagine it. I heard somebody come in that bathroom and just stand there, but they weren't there. So that is my Halloween story. I would love to hear if you've had anything unusual happen in your life. Like I said, that's the most unexplainable thing that's ever occurred in mine. But most importantly, Dave, thank you so much for the Still Austin Red Corn Bottle and Bond. Absolutely love the pour. Think it drinks under proof. I think it has great flavors. It's something that I could sit and sip on all day long. But most importantly, I hope you and your family have a happy Halloween. I hope you guys do whatever makes you guys happy. If you work today, which I'm sure most of us will, including myself, I hope your work day went fast. Hope your off time goes slow with whatever you do tonight. But most importantly, cheers and God bless. You all have an amazing day.